Looking back at all my interviews, um, I think the way they ran was really good and pretty smooth. Um, so with all my interviews, what I done is I went through all the questions I was going to ask the person. Um, so then they understood what was coming up, and then I would even talk about it with them briefly. And give them little suggestions of what they can say, just so it sparks their mind in a way. So this does make sure that they know what to say, so then they don't stutter or anything throughout the interview. I think it only happened around twice in all my interviews when someone didn't really know what to say. I think it was Spider with Gio on what he thought his favourite song was.
Favorite song?
Yeah.
Well, the ones I know are the ones that I mean, I know he's got loads of songs, but I don't remember a lot of the titles.
Oh, okay.
Because, you know, the problem with working in here is I do music every day, all day, and the songs just go, you know what I mean? But definitely I liked what he did on Send Them Home and Just Breathe. I can remember those two.
And by Jo. But he sort of answered that briefly before, and he did answer it pretty clearly soon after. And then the other time was with Jo with his own personal favourite song, where he wasn't totally sure, only because he had several going through his mind.
My own favourite song. Ooh, oh my gosh. I don't even know, you know. What have I released recently? Ooh, I don't even know. You're gonna have to jump cut this bit because I'm gonna be thinking for a while. Hold on. Right. In terms of shoot.
But that wasn't too much of an issue because I then, because it was all in one certain bit, I was able to just cut that out and it was fine. But yeah, I'd say that with just all the interviews, I did just go through the questions with the person just so they knew what was coming up, and I didn't just go straight into that. Like there was a conversation before with, because Jordan was there for Lewis's interview and Spider's interview. So just with those two, there was a general conversation before. So then just going into the interview was pretty smooth, and it was pretty easy to then just talk about it.
I advise him to do was literally to do the Lock Tavern, to invite people, then you can see who comes, who gets back to you, because you can see your interest. And some of them, when we did Josh Jacob, they advised him Josh not to do the session because they wanted to sign him. Okay. And I was like, no, do the session so everybody would want to sign you, because they wanted to keep it exclusively for themselves. Right. So if you've got UTA, is that
And yeah, and then with my parents' interviews, because I was speaking to them generally just before, it made it easier to then just talk about the talk about what questions are coming up, because we were generally just talking about the trailer as a whole before. So yeah, with that, I feel that was really good, and I felt that I got a lot of key parts that I want to use for my trailer. So when my mum talks about what she thinks about profanity, and then what Jordan was saying about profanity as well, I think that was very good, and I feel I could use that in my trailer.
I wanted him to be able to express himself. I mean, to swear and use cuss words, what's that say about you? And I felt that it was really important if my child was going to be expressing himself in public, that he learnt to do that in a way that was meaningful and not just following the crowd and I guess a sort of almost simplistic way of expression.
I think people have different reasons for using it. Me personally, I just don't feel the need to. I think I made my first track years ago, and I swore in one of them. Then my dad was like, "Oh, you don't need to swear." So obviously, from a parent's perspective, it's like, "All right, yeah, don't swear." But since then, when I started writing lyrics and actually trying to focus on like improving, I found I didn't need to.
Some well, it was not very often, but the interviews did get sidetracked a little bit. That this was only mainly in Lewis's interview, and where he sort of went off a little bit.
On my guy doing his job, on his Talisa, his Kim K, his Pamela Anderson, his I don't know who else was on it this year, man.
But I guess that just shows the comfortable environment he was in, and that he felt that he wasn't being forced to answer a question in a certain way. And that's what I wanted in all my interviews, and that's why I felt I achieved that. The person didn't feel like they couldn't say what they actually meant. So we did see this when my dad, Justin, was saying how he wasn't against like the complete use of profanity in music, just if it's used in the right way. And
I think it's commendable. It's notable, but I haven't been a harsh advocate of no profanity at all.
Yeah.
Kind of like on that Will Smith type tip, because I think there's nothing wrong with it if it's used appropriately. I know that may seem like an odd thing to say, but in terms of like expression, in terms of like feeling, in terms of like context, I know a lot of rappers who don't necessarily use profanity a lot, but occasionally do use it for like maybe emphasis or the context that they're using it. So, so in that respect, I admire him for not kind of like using it so casually, which is good, because then it kind of like challenges you to kind of like step up your game and think where you're coming from lyrically and what it is you want to say.
that's what Joe also said as well. So even though my documentary trailer is about about Joe not using profanity and his success without it, with them talking about profanity being used in a way that expresses true feelings in a good way, it's fine. But then obviously there's a way of just using it to just fill up gaps which they're against. See, I think that in the person being able to express themselves throughout the interview, I think that went really well. Overall, I think all the interviews went really well. J.O.'s interviews lasted a bit longer, only because I had more questions to ask him, and so I got more in depth, and so you would get more context about him as well. So yeah, his interviews lasted a bit longer than everyone else's. I wasn't able to see Ryan, but I did write down the questions and then got J.O. to send it to him, so then he could send a voiceover to me. So yeah, that was fine. But yeah, I say that overall, all the interviews were really good, and I think all my questions were pretty precise in what I wanted. Some of the questions were repeated only because I wanted to see each person's personal opinion on certain stuff. So with his style, with J.O.'s style, and their preferred song choice, and what they think about him away from music. But we did see a lot of people say that him away from music is the same as him in music as well. So yeah, I think my questions were pretty good in what I wanted to get out of the interview, and I didn't think I really had any weak questions as well. Because if I had weak questions, it just wouldn't hold anything towards the interview. But yeah, I'd say that overall was really good, and I don't think I really wasted a lot of time as well. I did also let the camera run a bit after and before, only so I got some other moments that were spoken about, that just came up in general conversation as well, only so it adds a bit more to it. But yeah, I'd say that overall, just with what was being said, that the interviews went really well, and I'm happy with that.